Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SPN show. This is episode 6. I'm Nick McLean. I'm here with Suneet Agarwal and Preston Guyton. What's up, guys?
So, buddy, how are you?
What is up?
Today, we're going to be talking about more marketing, specifically email marketing, inspired by Suneet and some conversations he's been having with some clients. And I know, like you're going to say, we talk about email marketing all the time. We're going to dispel some of the myths around it and maybe get through maybe some breakthroughs for people listening, because they're probably overcomplicating it, because there's a million ways to go about it. Sunny, take it from there, man. What are people been asking you?
Yeah, so I mean, people just want to know what the strategies are and how we deploy, right? We have different campaigns, recruiting and consumers, and how do we like approach each one? And I think, like you were saying, Nick and I, we talk about it every day, Preston sometimes too. So I'll just start with my real basics,
Yeah.
and then you guys can feed off of that. It's We send out one content rich piece of email to every audience once a week. For the longest time, I did it exactly as John Cheplak coach to do, because he's the one who showed me the importance of it for recruiting and consumers. So we would film a video, some kind of video blog, some kind of how-to thing, trying to provide value, send it out to the audience once a week. For the longest time, we used MailChimp, and that was my strategy. Still kind of is the basis. There's been other times where I would send a newsletter. There were other times where we would also send all my new listings every week. I sent more of those when I had like 20 new listings every week and I wanted to flex.
Right.
I don't have that anymore. But we would send those. Nobody ever really looked at those, because at the same time, any lead in my audience, in my consumer audience, is receiving a drip email from Follow Up Boss in the name of the agent, right? They're getting an email, some kind of action plan of Follow Up Boss in the name of the agent. They're also getting a saved search, whether it be from Ylopo or Sierra, right? So they're also getting that. The one piece in there that I have is my CEO follow-up email drip, which I've given away at so many. Just, you can probably Google it and find it, but it just goes along with the stages to build authority. That thing saves me deals every week, where I ask the consumer how it's going with the agent that they've been assigned with, and if they want to change, let me friggin' know, because people say yes, I want to change, and then I still get that check, right?
And
We
so
still are able to help that family.
that's after appointment. So you have a sequence after appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Or
feedback.
when the appointment's set.
Mm.
It's when the appointment's set, when it's been met, 3 days after it's met, when they write an offer. So there's already like 4 campaigns. At the same time, we also have Happy Grasshopper going in the background. But as far as like the purpose of stuff that we actually have to think about weekly for the context of this, it's all about that direct email from the company, from Nick McLean Real Estate, from Best Stock Homes Group, from Palms Realty, that's going out to the entire database minimum once a week, right? So Preston, tell us. Or Nick has his finger up.
No,
Nick
I
wants
like
to say
that.
something.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. Go
So
for it.
good, Preston. Tell us your approach to the email to both the campaigns. What do you guys do?
Yeah, we do similar. We send out a newsletter once a week to the consumer, so the ones that registered, the ones in our database. We also do a resend. When we do a resend, we change the subject line. So the resend goes to non-openers. And we're consistent in that. And I think a lot of people have lost, you hear it often where email doesn't work or it's not as effective. But like the newsletter we send out with the initial send and the resend is about, and we're talking about a database of 72,000 like that have opted in. We get about 40 to 45% open rate.
Combined. Is that combined, Preston?
Combined, correct. Yeah. So that's the total database, right? So 40 to 45% of the total database is because it's unique, right? Like some people look at it and they don't look at unique. You know what I mean? Like SendGrid has a setup where it shows combined and then it gives you a percentage, which is really not the percentage. You know, you actually have to go deeper into the analytics and see the actual open rate. You know,
So
like
what are
our
you guys using? Then MailChimp?
yeah, we use MailChimp because we haven't been blacklisted like you.
No, I still have it for. I have MailChimp for consumers still.
Yeah,
And our
yeah,
open rates
no,
really good thanks to segmentation mostly. But
yeah,
go
for
ahead.
sure. So, and
Mhm.
you definitely segment it. You definitely, you know, with the tags, especially with us, you know, ours are coming from Easy Home Search. So ours are, you know, the Easy Home Search brand because that's where they're signing up. But we stay consistent. You know, like I said before, I do everything I can to generate the most amount of leads for the least amount of money. And then the action starts happening. And a lot of that is, you know, weekly newsletter. Every week we're sending out something. And we just sent one out this morning. You know, we'll do the resend 48 hours later. We'll adjust that based on the best time. We send out newsletters on Thursdays because through the years, Thursdays have always been the best days that I've ever tested. Thursdays seem to have the most open rate and seem to have the most time people answer the phone more on Thursday. Like there's
Fascinating. I hope everybody listening and watching takes note of that because I always hear when's the best time to send. I think
yeah,
Nick and I send so much that we don't really probably
We don't think
focus on a
about that.
specific day. But Preston's been doing this for how many friggin' years? Like, if you want to know one day, if you got one email, I'm gonna start telling people what Preston said Thursday. Go ahead.
yeah, and you could switch it up. I mean, there's you know now Mailchimp and all these other ones have you know you could set it auto and they'll send it based on what they see the best response has been with your newsletter. So, I mean, that's a good option to look at as well. So you let them choose when to send it. And
Let's
then,
talk real
yep.
quick. Sorry to interrupt you. Not that sorry, but a little bit. But do you make the newsletter in Mailchimp too, with
Yeah.
dynamic links and shit, or what?
Yeah, it's MailChimp. Super simple. We don't put videos in it. You know, you want to do everything. When you talk about newsletters, you don't want to be it to be a heavy weighted HTML heavy newsletter, right? So there's we keep comment. It's simple. It's the same every week. We change out the photos. Obviously, we change out the header. It's less than 250 words. There's call to actions that are exactly the same every time we send it out. Every week we have a home valuation call to action at the very bottom. Says, you know, have you checked on your home valuation lately? When we first started sending that out, we were getting 20 to 30 home valuation leads a week. Now we're about 10 to 20 just because, you know, initially it was the whole database and now it's the newer ones. But consistently send that in. And like when you, and the reason to do that too with the call to actions, like, you know, we all have lender partners, we all have whatever paying to help us offset some of the marketing spend, or a lot of companies do anyway. Well, then you could show them like a big, when you look at an MSA with a mortgage company, a lot of that stuff that you is in that newsletter. Because say if every week we have a call to action for a mortgage icon that says, "Hey, speak to a local lender." Well, that thing's clicked on 75 times a week. You know, we get 12 applications through that a week. So you know, just keeping consistency is key, right? Doing it weekly, but also keeping the newsletter consistent. Like if you have some, I'm going to continue doing what we do until it doesn't work. Like, you know, so many people tweak what works. Oh, we've been doing this a while. Let's tweak it. Why the hell are you tweaking it if it's working? You know, somebody says,
It,
stop being an effing tweaker, right?
yeah, it's like the old saying. I don't know if it's Dan Kennedy or what, but if they're buying, keep selling.
Yeah.
That
And
can
then
be,
our
yeah.
recruiting, we have a recruiting newsletter we send out, but that's Palms, right? So that goes out to agents.
Hmm.
We send that out 2 times a week,
So 2 new ones a week,
2 new ones a week. Yep.
and you do a newsletter. Do you
We
know?
were doing 3, and then we scaled it back to 2 because we were seeing too many people unsubscribe when we were sending it 3. So we
Right,
scaled it back to 2.
right.
Do you know what I like about the whole newsletter thing? Is you don't gotta make a video. But the video is there for branding.
It's a good branding play. It's a good branding recognition play, and it's
For the
consistent.
videos,
In the
or just
newsletter,
for the newsletter? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it also gets your team on a rhythm, don't you think, Preston? You guys know on Thursday it goes out every week, like a newspaper. Like you got deadlines.
Yeah, and our ISA team sees a huge, we see a huge pickup on our website visits. We see a huge pickup on, because you think about it, 20, say the first one goes out is about 25 to 30%. The second resend goes out to non-openers, it's about 15 to 20%. So it ends up being about 40 to 45, but that ends up being a lot of direct traffic, a lot of traffic coming back to the site. Think about it. Do you know of any big company out there that you buy stuff from that doesn't send you a newsletter? It doesn't inundate you within your inbox? Yeah, you're going to get people to unsubscribe, but you're better to have a few unsubscribe than, not hit those other 38% or 40% that are actually opening it every week.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. If you study Fortune 500 companies, any retailer, they ask you for your email at the point of sale. Every point of sale, every good restaurant, every
Yeah,
good Banana Republic, every good retailer gets your email. Why? So they can sell you other products.
correct.
I think real
But
estate
I mean,
agents,
then again,
And it's
go
top
ahead.
of mind too, like it's brand recognition, right? It's cheap to send out emails. Okay, it gets expensive when you have MailChimp, but it's a cheap way to get in front of that person, that you had their information, that you got their information, that you had their interest at one time.
there's a there's a book called Predictable Revenue by Aaron Ross and Mary Lou Tyler. Turn your business into a sales machine with $100 million best practices of Salesforce.com, right? And I saw her on stage years ago. I was probably like 8 years ago. And this is to your point, Preston, about the ISAs. She would say that Fortune 500 companies send out emails to their database or text messages to their database with a message, and then whoever raises their hands is who you call.
Yep. So
Otherwise, your sales agents, inside or outside sales agents, are just guessing. They're shooting at a target they can't see. So they
yeah.
got you ever have agents that have 200 leads in their database or 1,000 leads assigned to them? They're overwhelmed. They don't know who to call.
Yeah. And we do that. So, like what you're talking about, we call them behavioral triggers, right? So, we have behavioral triggers that are set up that say somebody does something, it's going to automatically send them an email. But I also tell our ISAs, like, it's not always just about making phone calls. You got to go. And I was actually just talking about that on a call before this. Email and text, warm up the database, and then let them show you who's ready to have a conversation that day.
Yeah, when you
Send
think
out.
of it, instead of thinking about how do I convert this person to a sale, that's like jumping. That's like jumping the Grand Canyon. We need to make it easier for them to a bridge to get across the Grand Canyon. If you think about it that way, Preston.
You
What
look
we
at it. You look at it with these massive database. Say you grab 200 people in the database, right? Let me send 200 people the same email. Let me send 200 people a text message. Let me see who responds to that. Then let's make 40 or 30 phone calls or 20 phone calls to people that have a very, very, very high percentage to answer.
Yes.
And then I have the conversations instead of just plowing through a list with no rhyme or reason and just saying, okay, I'm going to call these 150 people today because that's what they tell me to call 150 people. Maybe I'll have 2 people answer. It's just, when you look at it, it's not a very good, it's like, hey, I'm going to go pick 150 people in the street and say, hey, you want to buy real estate? It's
Yeah,
probably not a bad idea, but you know what I mean? There's better ways to use your
100%.
time.
And
So
your
what do you
ears.
guys do in tracking
Go ahead.
that and follow up, boss? Just calling email opens?
Yeah, you could just
Perfect.
say we grab a list of 200 people. You email those 200. You could text those 200. Look at who responds, and then then you set up a phone appointment to say they respond via text them back and say, hey, do you have time to talk about where you're at or what's going on in your life? I know you see you registered at some point in the past. I just want to give you any kind of support I can.
Because
Go from a helpful standpoint instead of what type of house you're looking for, how many bedrooms, how many baths. The same bullshit. How many times they hear that? If somebody called you and you registered, hey, Suneet, how many bedrooms are you looking for? How many bathrooms? How many square footage? It's just, it's, I mean, we train, and it's partly our fault, but we train the ISAs and we train people these scripts, and
Oh,
and then
yeah.
it's like just totally take the personality out of the conversation.
So I'm over here looking at MailChimp newsletters. I want to see one. If somebody wants to see one of your newsletters, Preston, where can they go?
They comment here, we could share it.
Yeah, comment here. Yeah,
Share
I
a
can
link.
send you.
Because do you know what? Like, here's the thing that I think.
I'll share the template. I mean, it's super easy. I mean, shit, I'll email it to them. I mean, it's
But
nothing, there's nothing to hide. They can go to easyhomesearch.com and sign up, and they'll get a newsletter in a week.
yeah, I think you have to understand. You got to get really clear on what's the goal of each email you're sending. What's the goal?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's a sale. Okay. What's really the goal? What's the smallest domino that knocks down the domino to the sale? And
And
a newsletter to me is, what's the goal of a newsletter? Well, brand recognition, content delivery, value add. But also it sounds like, to Preston, a call to
Small
action
order.
to find out who is curious about knowing their home value,
yeah.
who is likely to be curious to find out what selections available to search. And then let's reach out to those people first.
Yeah.
That's kind of the game plan every week. And so, yeah, you were saying your ISAs are looking forward to that email coming out. I do the same thing. Marketing and advertising needs to talk to sales. They're two different departments. The sales department needs to say, hey, marketing director, I need more leads. Who should I call first? And the marketing should go, well, should be like communicating to the sales team, this is what marketing went out, and this is what it says, and this is what I'm trying to figure out. Right. So, like, oftentimes I'll send an email out. I just did an email that said, your home value report, ... They open it up, check your home value valuation, very easy. Click the link. I got on the phone with my director of sales and said, Cortland, heads up, I just sent out this email that I want you to be tracking and calling all of the people that click on it. Because if they clicked on it, it's a behavioral trigger, like Preston said. They own a home, they're curious on the home value, find out who wants to take it to the next step, right? And so that was 35,000 emails, 120 people clicked on it. We set 4 appointments.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like the beauty of for us, because we're in a secondary market and people are, I'll tell people about it. They're like, oh, but all the home values you're getting are like people all across the country, California, wherever. I'm like, great. That means they're a very good buyer lead, right? So we have our head ISA is the one that calls those leads, because now not only do we have a name, phone number, and email address, we also have a mailing address. So what ends up happening on those phone calls, they answer about 70 or 80% of the time. And we see about 5 of those handed off a week, which are, they were willing to put in name, email address, and phone number. And now they were willing to come back in, because as soon as they put in their home address, it automatically updates the leads. It automatically updates their address. So that information's in there. And then, we're going to start doing it is we set it up in a follow-up box where when that real mailing address comes in as an update, we're going to send an AM card as an action plan, which will automatically do it. And it's just, I mean, you talk about an AM card, it's okay. Yeah. We have 20 home value leads coming a week, freaking $30, $30 to send 20 postcards out. It just gives you another opportunity to get in front of them, and inexpensive.
This is a rare example, but one of my agents, Greg, we got a home value lead, came in, already been in the system, right? So we got them back to the website to check on their home value. The phone number was bad, so he wrote a letter and sent him a letter, and we just listed it for 1.8 million.
Yeah.
Right. So to your point, you can mail them. Now that's a lot of lift and haul, right? But
Not with AM cards, right?
No, because you could do that. So in Follow Up Boss, when the mailing address updates on a contact, it could automatically, an automation can trigger that postcard to be sent out. You could even send it out with brownies. I mean, if you wanted to spend that kind of money, you don't have to, but just send. So them coming back in, updating that mailing address, it'll trigger the action plan to start. It'll automatically send out whatever postcard you build out. It'll sign it, put it in the mail. Nothing you got to do. other than setting up that automation and setting up that action plan.
Mm, mm, that's good.
But it's, to your point, another thing you could do, you could say, okay, if the mailing address is updated and it's a bad phone number, send this postcard that says, hey, thank you so much for whatever, and I have a bad email address or bad phone number, or, maybe they have a bad email address and a bad phone number. And then you could choose to send a postcard out that is exact to whatever message you want to send with that. I mean, it's just, the ability to do these things, and you couldn't do it without email. Like, email allows you to pick up things that are missing. It's missing a phone number. Like, people say, oh, it's a bad lead, the phone number's bad. I'm like, okay, well, you have an email address, it's not a bad lead. It's a bad lead if you have bad phone number, bad email address. And
I would also go to another step where it's like, okay, more than one person has more than one email, or one person has more than one email.
Yep.
And so they signed up on your website with their spam email. Or the email they check every week or every 2 weeks.
Or every month, for sure. That's what I do, right? I have a personal email I've had for 20 plus years. It was like my first Gmail email address. And that's the one when I get something I want to receive, that's the email I put in there.
Yeah. So you got to understand, a lot of your emails are going to spam because it's their spam email address.
Yep.
And they don't check it very often. Right. So when you understand that, the ISAs, the appointments, the agents, they need to ask them, if I found you a really great deal, how do you want me to email it? What email address do you want me to send a really good deal to?
Yeah.
Like, which one do you check? Because I think as real estate agents, at least for me, Suneet and Preston, like, we check our emails how many times a day? Hundreds?
How many times a minute?
How many times? We refresh the browser to see if anything new comes in, because we get like 30, 40 emails an hour. We have to stay on top of it. The average consumer isn't us.
No.
They're not checking their emails all the time, but they do check it. And I think that's the power of an email, is it's direct to their inbox. If you don't get a spam filter, direct mail. We haven't even talked about direct mail. Direct mail is amazing. For $1, I can get something sent to your mailbox.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I also think about who checks emails more often. What age group checks emails?
Would it be our age group?
Our age group or older, right? Our age group in the 40s, 50s. We're not in the 50s.
Sure.
The other thing to think about too, at what point in their buying journey do they check their email more often?
Tell me more.
Like, if they're closer to buying and they have e-alert set up because they don't want to miss a property, they're probably checking their email a lot more than the ones that are just kind of just searching. So, and you have to change that cadence when you look at e-alert to somebody that's, maybe it's once a day you're sending e-alerts to them. And that's the thing, like, some people are like, oh, everybody sets up an e-alert, everybody's getting them, but my e-alerts are open 65% of the time.
What about, how do you handle e-alerts, Suneet? Is it based on the automatic programming?
I mean, dude, I don't put a lot of energy into it because I feel like they are all over the place. Everybody gets automatically Sierra RY-LOPO. I honestly think once the agents build a relationship, they put them in the MLS. Right? Like, that's what I've experienced.
Because you're focused on that appointment. Not everyone's setting 100 appointments.
500 appointments, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm focused on the appointment. Honestly, like, sometimes, like, people tell me, that's different, but that's where I'm focused. So
I think it's smart. I learned this a long time ago, and I would like to get your guys' feedback. What's the purpose of a property search tied to your IDX, tied to your property search website? That automatic alert. What's the purpose? I was told this a long time ago. I think it was actually Greer Allen at Boomtown. They got rid of it. So they had e-alerts set up, and then they got rid of it. It automatic. I don't know if it was an error in coding or something, but it shut down, or maybe they decided it wasn't a viable product. This is early on. Web traffic dropped minimum 40% across the board.
Oh yeah, yeah. The direct. So if you look at your direct traffic, right? So our website's a little bit different, but we hit 325,000 visits the last 30 days. 40,000 were direct traffic, 50,000 were direct traffic. It's not, I mean, direct means most likely it was coming from e-alerts, right? I mean, because that's where it's coming from. So you'll definitely see that. You'll see that if you drop e-alert, and we do the same thing Suneet's talking about it's automatically set up based on zip code. And the whole idea there is, hey, that conversation, then when the ISA reaches out, say, hey, I know you're receiving the e-alert. I just want to, check in with you if there's anything you want us to adjust, because it's a generalized e-alert to set up based on what you looked at when you came into and with our side, it covers, North and South Carolina. So a lot of times they're looking in a different city in the state, say they're looking in Charlotte or Columbia or whatever. But it starts that conversation as well. It helps to, give them a talking point when they get them on the phone.
Yeah, but I think the property search is not the agent house hunting portal, right? To Suneet, right? You want the agent to have that awareness to set them up on something a little bit clearer, more concise, the right email.
Also for us, just the source of many of my leads, like so many people say, I don't want them going to Zillow. I don't want them going to realtor.com. I don't care if they do. Because if they go to Zillow, then we still keep them. Right. So,
You want them to find a home they're interested in.
Yeah. Dude, we just moved, as you guys know, and I have a Wailopa side, a KV Core side, a Sierra side, I have a Triumph side, I have the MLS. My wife is looking at houses on Zillow. Right? The UI was the easiest for her. The user interface was the easiest for her. So that's what people are going to use. So for me, simple. my leads are coming from Zillow. Then every time they go on, I get a notification.
I mean, you look at it this way. I mean, how there's not. I mean, what's the easiest website to search for real estate out there? Most likely it's not a independent company site that's in an area, right? I mean, we're all using a lot of the same systems and setups and everything else. And I mean, they're easy, but there's easier options out there.
Yeah. And so you have to, the way I think of the sales process, then I need to train my agents on how to talk to that consumer on what should they do if they find a home on Zillow.
Well, and the consumer too. I think the consumer a lot of times has realized a lot of those portals they're going to get inundated with phone calls. So a lot of times they're looking in a market, looking in an area, and willingly signing up because they want to deal with somebody locally. So, a lot of times you got to look at it that, hey, they signed up with Easy Home Search, or they signed up with, Nick McLean or Suneet or whatever, because they didn't want to get inundated with phone calls and messages and everything. I mean, when it's a Saturday Night Live skit of what happens when you sign up with Zillow, everybody knows, right? I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but they're laying in bed looking at Zillow, like, because 70% of people that look on Zillow are just looking, and all of a sudden one of them accidentally signs up, and they like, oh no, we signed up, and it's like a lady from Remax smoking cigarettes calling, and it's like 40 other different people calling. Anyway.
Yeah, I think what wins though is the long-term commitment to delivering emails.
Yeah.
Right. Where most leads, as we talked about before, right? Episode 3, we talked about marketing and the consistency of it. And then episode 5, we did some lead conversion stuff. We're willing to email people longer.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about how long are you, what time, when do you stop emailing someone? Suneet, someone signs up. Okay. Right.
Okay. So, I got a message today, made me think about this. So I have app set up to unsubscribe, unroll or whatever. And sometimes it unrolls me from things I don't necessarily want to unsubscribe to. I received an email from somebody that I unsubscribed from, which I totally didn't mean to.
Mm.
So she emailed me and said, "Hey, did you really mean to unsubscribe from this? Because it was something I pay for and whatever." And I was like, "Oh no, it must have been the software or whatever." So it made me think. I'm like, when we have people unsubscribe, I'm going to start sending in an email out and say, "Hey, did your shopping for a home change or whatever? Did you actually mean to unsubscribe from these emails?" Um, because if she didn't reach out to me, I wouldn't have known I unsubscribed. I
Yeah,
just wouldn't have been getting the emails anymore. So
yeah,
it's just something to think about when you think about people actually unsubscribing. A lot of times, maybe they don't intend to. Maybe they're
well,
trying to change something and accidentally hit the wrong button.
yeah, and they unsubscribe now because they just bought a home, but in 14 months they're going to want to sell that home.
Yeah, and then you
Or in
just say,
18
"Hey,
months.
okay, you bought a home, great, but you want me to set you up on a market report to send you monthly, or just go ahead and do it. Say, hey, where'd you buy your house at? Okay, you find out and they bought it in this neighborhood. Go ahead and set them up on a market report because 85% of the time they're going to list with somebody else because the agent that sold them the house is going to do a shitty job of emailing and keeping up with them."
Yeah, I mean they're adopted buyers, right? We're so obsessed with emails. If that email is on the purchase and sell agreement, we take that email and put it on our database.
Yeah.
I mean, we're scrubbing emails, putting them in our database, we're holding on to them, and then we're going to play the long game over and over again. But if you think about, I think where Suneet, a lot of people are having trouble is this mass marketing aspect of it, this MailChimp aspect of it. What do I say? Things like that. For me, this was about 3 years ago when I got into mass email. Is I wrote an email a day for 30 days, and this is a little extreme, with no call to action. No call to action. No selling, no links, no nothing. And then I jumped into it. So I guess for anyone listening, you don't have to do 30 in a day, but write some emails and don't sell them anything for like a week or two and see what your open rates do over time. Don't even look at your open rates for like 30 days, right? And then go into, I think we go sharp angle way too early. If you have a cold audience, don't go sharp angle right away.
Yeah, and if you're looking at content, like what the one I sent today was something simple. It was just showing them the difference between what they pay in interest on a 15-year and a 30-year mortgage. It was, and then a link back to our blog. So it's what we sent out is more informational. There might have been a link to a property in a different market, but there wasn't. We don't like put houses for sale. We always the top part of it is always a blog, and it's always something about rising interest rates, or the one we sent a couple of weeks ago, rates are above 7%. So we're always trying to send something that's current news. And,
And you don't always have to spin it like it's a good time to buy or sell every single time.
That reminds me, I need to put a link to this podcast in my next newsletter.
Heck yeah. Well, I know we got to wrap this thing up, Preston and Suneet. Any final words? Suneet.
I think we just scratched the surface of email. And now, I am so thinking about it deeper right now. You guys see my wheels turning.
Yeah,
as
you
guys
talked
talk.
15 minutes ago.
I started thinking about it. So, people don't know what to put. How about you just put something, come from value. If you don't know what to write, go use some free AI tool. There's no shortage. Chat GPT or sign up for Jasper and just start sending emails. That's what we did because we didn't know what to write.
And just stay. The big thing I would say is just stay consistent. Like whatever you send, stay consistent. Like if you're sending once a week, twice a week, do it for at least. Don't do it. What I see happen is most people will do it for a month and then stop. I mean, that's something like the previous company I had as well. We sent out a once a week newsletter, sometimes twice, for probably 14 years. That's how long I've been doing newsletters and staying consistent with them. And they've actually gotten over time, because as I've learned, they've actually become less and less, like very simple, just a top banner with a logo, content with a link, maybe a photo, and just very slick looking, and not image heavy, and not a lot of words. I mean, linking back to something where if they read a little bit about a 15 to 30-year mortgage, they go to the website and read more.
Yeah, thank goodness. I would say, my advice is you're not going to break anything, and you don't have to be fancy. Don't don't jump into the JPEGs and the videos and the banners. If you haven't sent an email out, remember, it's an email. It's a letter, right? Dear Preston, hi. How are I noticed interest rates went up this week. Here's the difference between a 15 and a 30-year mortgage. Click here to look at homes. Keep it simple, send it out. You will get, and then just like anything, you're going to get better and better and better and better and better at it, right? And us three here, I sent out 3.4 million emails last year, right? 295 customized emails. I didn't start there. I wouldn't expect you to start there. Like Suneet said, one a week is a lot.
Well,
If you
yeah,
do zero.
I mean, but look at it this way. Like if you're looking at it, you don't choose to run a marathon and go out and run 27 miles, 26 miles the first day. You ease into it. Just like I see a lot of people, they fail with prospecting because they see these people prospecting 3-4 hours. Oh, I got to prospect 3 or 4 hours. Why? Warm yourself up. Start doing it a little bit at a time. 15 minutes of prospecting is better than zero. 30 minutes of prospecting is better than zero. An hour is better than 30. Same thing with email. And you don't want to just go blast the list out anyway because you'll get banned from MailChimp.
No.
You have to warm up the list, send it, and continue to warm it up, and just stay consistent with it. To me, I think email is probably the best sales tool out there.
Dude, it's the cheapest, unless you're counting paying MailChimp. It's the cheapest, but everyone talks about retargeting, this and that. Well, this is your retargeting, folks, is your
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's more direct than a lot of the campaigns that you're doing, hoping for a little bit of reach.
Yeah,
And
you want to see how warm somebody is, send out newsletters and look at the people that open that newsletter about 5 or 8 times, and guess what? It comes in the follow-up box from MailChimp. So you'll see the person that opened that email 8 times, 9
The
times.
only thing is it's not easy to see in MailChimp or in Follow Up Boss.
Also tell end your
MailChimp is easier.
Yeah, MailChimp is easier 100%, but I'm just saying it shows up in Follow-Up Boss as well. But yeah, if you go into MailChimp, you could see that list of who opened it the most, and then you just cross-reference your database to see.
Well, we're going to dive deeper into emails.
Yeah, we
for
could be
sure.
here for a couple.
If you're interested in checking out other episodes that you didn't see, episode 3 on marketing is we had awesome feedback on that one. When we were talking about direct response, that's going to tie into your emails, how you talk in your emails, and then lead conversion, the last one, guys. So appreciate it, Suneet, Preston. We'll be doing another one next week.
See y'all.
All right, guys.